Welcome to Story Voyage, where the most unbelievable Reddit tales come to life. Today, we're diving into a gripping story of betrayal, revenge, and the perfect plan. Buckle up, this is a ride you won't forget. I never thought my marriage would end this way. For years, I'd been the loyal, steady husband, the guy who handled the bills, showed up to every one of her office parties with a smile, and listened to her rant about work while quietly cleaning up the kitchen. I thought we were happy. Turns out she wasn't just ranting about work, she was ranting to work, specifically her boss, Ethan. And by ranting, I mean sleeping with him for the better part of a year. I discovered the affair 6 months ago. It wasn't a dramatic revelation, no text messages left on her phone or late night calls to explain. No, it was subtle at first. The way she started staying late for meetings that didn't seem to exist. The new lingerie I never got to see. The sudden shift in her attitude toward me, as though I were nothing more than an inconvenience in her otherwise perfect life. So I dug, slowly, carefully, until I had everything. Bank statements, emails, receipts for hotel stays, everything. I didn't confront her. What was the point? She'd just deny it or gaslight me into thinking I was crazy. No, I decided that if she wanted to blow up our life together, I'd make sure the blast radius included her entire world. The setup. I spent months preparing. It wasn't enough to just expose her. I needed her to feel it, to lose everything she thought she could have without consequence. Ethan was just as much of a snake as she was, so I didn't feel the slightest bit bad about what was coming his way either. First, I hired a private investigator to gather evidence, pictures, emails, you name it. Next, I reached out to one of my wife's biggest clients whom she'd been schmoozing for years. Let's just say they weren't thrilled to hear that their account manager was engaging in extracurricular activities with her boss. It didn't take much to nudge them into reconsidering their partnership with her firm. Then came Ethan. Through a bit of social media sleuthing, I found out that he was married. His wife, Melissa, was an elementary school teacher with a heart of gold and an Instagram page full of wholesome family photos. I felt bad for her, but she deserved to know. I mailed her a detailed dossier of her husband's affair, complete with pictures, and left it at that. The day it all fell apart. It started at 9 a.m. My wife left for work in her usual power suit, kissing me on the cheek like nothing was wrong. By 10:30, Melissa had stormed into Ethan's office, waving the evidence in his face. I wasn't there, of course, but I heard later that she caused quite the scene. Employees were gossiping about it for weeks. By noon, the client my wife had been courting for months announced they were pulling their account. It was a devastating blow to the firm, a multi-million-dollar loss that sent shockwaves through the entire office. Ethan was called into a meeting with the board, and my wife was left scrambling to figure out how to salvage the mess. Around 3 p.m., Ethan was escorted out of the building. Apparently, Melissa had shared the affair evidence not only with him, but also with his bosses. They didn't take kindly to the PR nightmare he'd created. He was fired on the spot. My wife's career wasn't far behind. With Ethan gone, her position became tenuous at best. By 4 p.m., she was called into a meeting with HR. I don't know exactly what was said, but she came home looking like a ghost. The final blow. When she walked through the door that evening, she was shaking. "I don't know what's happening," she whispered, collapsing onto the couch. "Everything's falling apart." I looked at her for a long moment, trying to summon even an ounce of sympathy. But all I could feel was cold satisfaction. "You should sit down," I said, handing her an envelope. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside were the divorce papers, along with a letter detailing everything I knew. The hotels, the lies, the way she'd humiliated me without a second thought. Her eyes widened as she read. You knew." "For 6 months," I replied. "And I just watched as you destroyed everything we built together. And now I'm done watching." She burst into tears, but I didn't stay to comfort her. I grabbed my pre-packed bag and walked out the door, leaving her to deal with the wreckage. Aftermath. It's been a year since that day. I've moved on, found a new apartment, and started seeing someone who values me for who I am. My ex-wife, on the other hand, hasn't been so lucky. Last I heard, she was working a dead-end job and living with her sister. Do I feel bad about what I did? Sometimes. But then I remember how she looked at me like I was nothing. and I remind myself she brought this on herself. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible tales from the depths of Reddit. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you on the next story voyage.